From Amug, this is the 3Degrees Discussions podcast. I'm your host, Mike Vasquez. We're coming to you live from Amug, and we're looking to talk to a lot of the participants today.
Hey everyone, this is Mike, and I wanted to just give a quick intro on this podcast since it's a little bit different than what we've done in the past. So this past week was the Amug show down in Orlando, Florida. We had a booth there talking about 3Degrees and some of our work with software, our trace software. And it was actually my wife's idea to kind of set up a microphone in the booth to get people's thoughts on the show so far and what they had been seeing. So we asked everyone 4 questions. First was, what's your name and what do you do in the additive manufacturing world? Second is, what's the most interesting thing you've seen at the show this year? That's always something I get asked all the time, and so wanted to share that with those who may not have been able to see everything or come down to the show. And then last 2 were, what's the next big thing in 3D printing? And then finally, what's it like being at a trade show in 2021? So a lot of good perspectives here. We got about, I think, 18 or 20 people, and so enjoy it.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Maddie Frank, and I'm a recent graduate of the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee with a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. I've been working in AM for about 6 years now, and I'm also on the scholarship committee and the new member committee for Amug, which is being conveniently held right here with our 3Degrees podcast, and it's been a blast. So the most interesting thing I have to say I've seen at Amug so far, I think Lux Creo is a really interesting new company, especially seeing some of their materials. I've been really impressed with their elastomerics, super cool stuff. And then Renishaw's copper parts were absolutely phenomenal, really, really cool. They say it was like 99% dense, which is kind of confounding. So I'm excited to see some maybe third-party data on that, but really cool nonetheless. I think the next big thing in 3D printing after attending Amug this year would probably have to be acquisitions. There's a lot of new companies coming out, and we've kind of seen the trend started with Desktop Metal and EnvisionTech and Stratasys and Origins. I think that a lot of these small startups are going to get bought out by some bigger companies or merged together, one of the two. And, you know, we're kind of in a bubble with how many OEMs and companies are here, so I think that kind of those acquisitions are going to slim things down and make the industry better as a whole. And then as for what it's like to be being in a trade show at 2020, it's great. Very tiring. Most time I spent in jeans in the past year, can guarantee that. And also, I'm losing my voice since only the second day. Like, there's not a lot of talking to people when you're sitting at home. I'm doing some Zoom calls, but it's been great. I've enjoyed it so much, and it's been wonderful to see all of the new members here. We've had almost half of the Amug new members. So it's been wonderful. Thanks, Mike, so much for giving the opportunity to be on the podcast, and hope to see all of you guys at Amug 2022. Woo. So have a great rest of your night.
What have I seen at the show so far? It's early in the week, and I'm sure we'll see a lot coming, but did get to walk the floor a little bit. I think the most interesting thing I saw was a company I wasn't familiar with before called Lux Creo that's showing some nice applications of their DLP-based resin printers for both the dental market as well as for custom eyeglasses. They had a nice end-to-end demo of doing a 3D scan of people's faces and then allowing you to get the measurements and get your glasses directly off that. Product looked good, and had a really interesting discussion with the folks from the company about what they're doing to try to automate the technologies and get it running with their partners. What's the next big thing in 3D printing? That's a big question. I think really as we start moving towards production, we need to start, making the technologies more reliable and repeatable. And a big piece of that's going to be integrating in the software side of it. We've been really fixated on the hardware systems and on the materials, which of course are both incredibly important. But when you start wanting to go into production, whether it's integration into your ERP system or your MES, your manufacturing execution system, and doing round trip, keeping track of what you ran, taking a look at the material traceability, looking at the logs of the machines, integrating that into your quality control systems. I think we really need to beef up the software side of things so that not only did we make a part, but we know what we made and have a reliable way of making sure that it met all the quality constraints.
All right, hello, my name is Adam Penna. I am with All Digital Additive Manufacturing as a consultant and podcast host, but working in business development and marketing as well as lead qualification. But here at Amug 2021, happy to stop by the booth with 3Degrees and check things out. The most interesting thing that I've seen at Amug this year, so far it has to be the Trace software by 3Degrees. Really cool, really cool. And looking forward to that being rolled out into the industry. And I think that's about it. I don't have to go crazy, right? A couple things. Yeah, I think I'm done.
Hi, I'm Teddy Lee. I am an additive manufacturing engineer at Made in Space. I've been in additive for a long time. Got my master's in additive from Carnegie Mellon and have worked at Formlabs, Carbon, as well as Made in Space. And I work on 3D printing, a 3D printing satellite, which 3D prints a long boom on orbit. I came to Amug this year just to keep up with the regular additive industry. I sometimes get a little bit separated from it, so coming here to catch up on all the new technologies is super interesting and learning a lot. I also use additive in my day-to-day just to do prototyping as well as production parts, so learning tricks and tips for getting everything right is super useful. Most interesting thing this year is probably the Essentium's dry box is amazing. I want it in my life right now because I have oodles and oodles of material that needs to stay dry. So, everyone likes the printers, but sometimes the support equipment is more important. Next big thing, let's see. Software, definitely software. It's come into its own in the past year, so. And trade show in 2020 was really only able to come to Amug because it was pseudo-local, so a little bit strange, but not too bad.
Hi, my name is Bob Diaz. I teach at the College of Southern Nevada, and that's what I do. I teach additive manufacturing to my students, my CAD students, and I also am getting into advanced manufacturing. The most important thing I've seen at Amug this year was the mixed metal laser centering option. The disposed electrical disposition, and I thought that was very interesting. What's the next big thing in 3D printing would be, I think it's going to be more of a consumer, along with more advancement in medical and industry and in aerospace industry. What is it like being at a trade show in 2021? I think this is my first show in over, I think it's 12 months. Nope, 16 months. Because 12 months ago we were in lockdown. So I really enjoy coming out again and meeting people, meeting new people, seeing old friends, and just being here. That's it.
So my name is Gregory Dudder, and I'm a metal additive consultant. I work at Hummingbird Additive along with my colleague Jillian Gorsuch. So this year at Amug has been quite the change from the previous. It's been 2 years now since the last one, so I guess looking at it, seeing growth just in the general, a couple different fields. And so on the material side, a lot of the plastics, you've got kind of a rush towards composites and fillers, trying to add additional functionality that the other polymers didn't have previously. And then on the plastic printing side, you're seeing faster and bigger printers come to light with either the DLP technologies, projections, and some of the larger format FDM style setups. On the metal side, you kind of see another bifurcation, I think. What you have are On the processing side, you're seeing a little bit more development with the bimetallic or trimetallic systems, hybrid manufacturing capabilities. And the other aspect I think you see is material development on the powder side, going towards some of the more niche products, either for better thermal, super high temp, or other functionalities that folks want to go after in the future. So I think the other big trend you see is just the drive towards economy. So you're seeing a lot of folks looking more at the binder MIM-based metallics, whether that's an extrusion model or your binder jetting capabilities. You got a lot of multiple players that are working in those areas as well. So it's definitely odd being back at a trade show in 2021. The events like this are intentionally overwhelming, I think, during a normal year, but it's certainly got the positives with it as well. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So happy to be here, and thank you for your time.
Okay, hey everybody, my name's Dan Brunermer. I am the technical fellow with the ExOne company. I started my journey in additive back in May of 2001. I can lay claim to creating the world's first commercially successful binder jetting machine, the R2, a machine still producing parts now 17 years later. So, what's the most interesting thing I've seen at Amug this year? Well, what else can I say but the ExOne Design Lab powered by Rapidia? I mean, we're talking about a whole new all-water-based method of creating bound metal parts. It's a simple two-step process. Do the extrusion, do the sintering, and it's done. Really great, really simple, incredible price point. For all the control software, the 3D printer, and the furnace, you're talking $195,000 out the door. We'll have it in 10 weeks. I think that's a pretty cool price point to get started in metals, especially if you come see what those parts look like. What's the next big thing? Well, I tell you, I think that what we're going to have to look at some point is growing up as an industry and figuring out how are we going to work with some of the established large systems integrators out there that are already working with the super huge companies like Ford and Chevy and Boeing. There's like this whole class of company that I think a lot of additive people just don't actually know about, and who actually makes assembly lines and who actually puts these things together. It isn't us. And the best thing we could do is find the best partners who have a whole lot of experience in massive scale production to help us along with that. And what's it like being in a trade show in 2021? Fucking awesome.
Hi, I'm Melanie Lang. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Formalloy Technologies, Inc. And we are here showcasing our directed energy deposition systems and solutions. And one of the interesting things that we're showcasing as part of the technical competition is the ability to embed sensors into a build. So what you can do with that is take a fiber optic sensor, actually embed it during your build, and you can see what's going on and basically listen to your materials both during and after the build. So it has a lot of really interesting, unique applications, from hypersonics to simply logistics support. I think one of the next big things in 3D printing is really going to be taking it to the next level in terms of production. So I think there's been plenty of use cases of low rate production parts, one-off parts, tooling. I think really what's going to happen next are some of these applications that have been developed over the last few years are really going to go into more high throughput production or very large size and really get to the whole intent of the additive manufacturing industry, which is to deliver end-use components and parts that exceed or perform better than their traditionally manufactured counterparts. So it's been great so far. It's amazing to finally see everyone after almost 2 years now of sort of, not having these big events. And so it's been great to connect with friends and see what's happened over the past 2 years.
Hi there, my name is Vito Gervasi. I've been in the additive manufacturing industry for quite a few years, almost 3 decades, and started my work with Milwaukee School of Engineering, and I've gone on to do 3D consulting since then, and it's quite a fascinating 30 years because there's just so many things that have evolved over time, and now we can print really huge things and other materials and combinations of materials, so it's pretty exciting to see every year the new developments and things at Amug that are changing the lives of all people on Earth, so it's a pretty exciting time. Let's see, looking at some of the questions, the most interesting thing I've seen, there's so many things, it's hard to pick just one. The materials are always exciting, there's always new materials, and some of the composite materials are super awesome, and the metals are exciting as well. Seeing some of the multiple materials combined, like Inconel and copper alloys, or some of the different plastics that are combined, and also getting some of the really fantastic color prints is also very interesting to see. What's the next big thing in 3D printing? I always think there's a lot of potential in the food industry, printing custom foods with custom flavors, and even replacements for meat products, things of that nature. I think they're going to be coming down the pipe in the future. Also, things like candies and special foods that have unique tastes that you just can't achieve any other way, because you can print things in a gradient, or you can print things in a fashion that you can't bake in the kitchen. So, yeah, a very exciting time for that industry. Of course, medical is going to be a huge area for opportunity, and much of that's being realized already. But just the opportunity to print replacement organs eventually and things of that nature is pretty exciting and life-changing for many people. So, let's see, what's it like being at the trade show during a pandemic, basically, is the question. And it's a little bit different. Can generally recognize people that I know, but sometimes when they take off their mask, then I recognize them more. So it's been a little bit different. People are being, I guess, pretty careful about respecting other people's concerns about the COVID virus and everything. So it's been a little bit different, and I'm really glad that this is happening this year, because it's been a long year with the pandemic, and people are definitely restless to get out and experience conferences and experience seeing old friends and getting together and enjoying each other and learning lots of new things about additive manufacturing.
All right, hi, my name's Andrew Sink, and I'm an applications engineer at Trimech. I primarily deal with Stratasys 3D printers. I'm a 3D printing hobbyist, and I have been involved in 3D printing for about 9 years or so, and I am just excited to be at Amug. I love seeing what people are working on with 3D printers, and it's been a really cool experience getting back out into the world after a year of kind of hanging out on my couch. One of the really interesting things I'm seeing at Amug is a trend this year of a focus on mass production. So lots of printers that are designed to print lots of parts quickly and to produce lots of parts in a serial fashion. It's just a really common thing. And that kind of ties into what I think might be the next best thing in 3D printing, and that's going to be this idea of serial production. Printers that are finally kind of bridging the gap between 10,000 and 100,000 parts. I think we're going to see a lot of that coming up. And it is just so cool to be here. I love Amug, and I really enjoy talking to people, and it's just really nice to be back at a trade show, and I'm hoping we see more of them in the near future.
That's enough? Yeah, all right. Good? Awesome. So my name's Alex Pistano. I'm a 3D printing application engineer with Trimech, and this is my first Amug. It's been really interesting. I don't have a good baseline of what it was like before, but it's been really interesting just to be around people and getting everybody's experiences with everything. An important trend, or a trend I think that's, additive is going towards is that, medium scale production. I feel like it's an avenue a lot of companies are looking at, and it's really interesting to see, what's new in that field. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me a question. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I'm Dave Rittmeyer, and I oversee all the 3D sand printing operations at Hoosier Pattern. And most interesting thing I've seen at Amug so far this year is, that's a daggone good question, people. Haven't seen people, but no, there's it's a cool seeing, especially like what we're seeing with ExOne, the different technologies and how they're trying to eliminate steps to with getting rid of the supports, things like that. That's pretty cool. So that's pretty cool. Next big thing in 3D printing beats the hell out of me. I don't know. It's going to change. Everything's so different. It's going so fast. I'd say the biggest change is going to be in the metal. It's going to keep going metal, more and more metal, which I'm not a big fan of because I like castings, but it's going to, part consolidation and metal printing is going to be the biggest thing. And what's it like being at a trade show 2021? Refreshing. I like people. I hate the virtual crap. You can keep the virtual. I like people.
My name is Kevin Brigden. I'm an applications engineer and smart manufacturing ambassador at Renishaw. The most interesting thing I've seen this year, I think, is just how many people have shown up to Amug this year. I think it's a brilliant thing to see the industry coming together after the past year and maybe a year and a half, and I think great things can only come of it. Next big thing in 3D printing, I think, is the bringing together of data, whether it be from 1D sensors on the machine or process monitoring melt pool sensors, and AI. That coming together, I think, is the next big thing. Being at a trade show in 2021 is fantastic, weird, exciting, encouraging, everything. It's brilliant to be back.
So, my name is Greg Nemecek. I work for Action Mold and Machining. The thing that I think is the most interesting thing that I've seen here at Amug this year is the watershed parts that are printed on the AM400s from Renishaw. They are they're spinal implants, and it just absolutely blows my mind. When we first started looking at additive, I had this grand plan that we would start out in the tooling world, and that one day we would be printing medical implants for companies. Well, not, as time has gone, I've learned that there's a lot that goes into being able to do medical stuff. I still find it fascinating, and I love to follow what they're doing. The next big thing that I think is coming up for the 3D printing world, honestly, I think is what Dendrite is doing with their GPU processing power and harnessing the power of all the processors in your graphics card to speed up the slicing process. It's really cool. I'm really looking forward to seeing that come to fruition. In fact, we've offered them some real-world parts so they can take what we're doing with the AM400 and building mold inserts and taking those files and slicing them and giving us real-world comparison to what we're doing presently with Quant AM to what they can do with their slicer with Dendrite. Being at the trade show this year really is, honestly, it was a little bit surreal coming down here. It was, you get on the airplane and everybody has their masks on, and you walk into the hotel and everybody has their masks on, and it's a little bit unnerving sometimes when you look around, but when you get in here and you get into the atmosphere and you see all the people that are talking and having a great time, it kind of eases that a little bit. But yeah, I think that is that's probably the biggest thing that I see at the trade show about being here this year is just being here in the middle of this pandemic and being able to actually do face-to-face communication with people that are like-minded and that are trying to drive the additive manufacturing industry forward.
My name is Danny Levy, and I currently work at an end user of 3D printing. I spent a number of years in the reseller world as an application engineer, and prior to that I was at a service bureau. And so these collective experiences have led to doing physical product development, pulling everything that I know about 3D printing into the process of bringing a prototype to reality and then shifting that into production. The most interesting thing that I've seen this year at Amug is actually kind of a collective experience in that the year 2021, with recovering from a pandemic, there was a lot of hesitation about what a trade show would be, and here we are making the most of it. At Amug, there's a lot of large vendors, typically from well-known companies, that are not here this year, and there's a lot of smaller companies that have really interesting technologies and services and just value to offer the community. And so I would say that the most interesting thing that I've seen is a phenomena of all of us being able to still continue doing what we do despite these different circumstances. And I think that that is fascinating. What's the next big thing in 3D printing? It's a good question. I think that there'll be. I think that the biggest thing is that bleeding edge technology will continue to emerge, and it'll continue to push the boundaries of the status quo, and that the 3D printing industry as a whole will continue to transform despite whatever our current perception of the technical limitations may be. And what is it like being at a trade show in 2021? I think it's not too different. People are just wearing masks, and the sales guys working booths are still acting like sales guys, trying to grab you and show what they can sell you, and even if you don't want it, they're going to try to sell it to you. So I don't think that it has changed too much. So over and out.
All right, my name is Jonathan, or Hans Hollahan. I currently work at Arkema as a business development engineer, focusing on high-performance thermoplastics for 3D printing and other advanced manufacturing techniques. So what's the most interesting thing I've seen at Amug this year? There's a whole lot of stuff. One thing I think is really cool is the new printer from IC3D. It's a service bureau that's been running and building their own printers for many years through many iterations. So I'm excited to see them take all the lessons they've learned by running printers near 24/7, and hopefully they get a reliable machine out of this. I'm excited to see where they go with that. What's the next big thing in 3D printing? When I look at the 3D printing space, I think composites are where a lot of stuff is headed. So very excited about thermoplastic composites, curable composites, and how we're going to drive new vehicles and new developments in aerospace and other demanding industries. What's it like being at a trade show in 2021? It feels a lot like a trade show from 2020 or 2019, just with some masks and figuring out whether to give someone a fist bump or a handshake. But otherwise, people seem eager to get back to face-to-face interaction, and it's been great being here at Amug. So very fortunate to be able to attend, and fortunate that they were able to host it. All right, thanks.
Cool. Thank you.
So my name is Maciej Jakuki. I'm medical device testing manager for Element Materials Technology. We do materials and product qualification testing for the additive world. I think the most interesting thing I've seen at Amug this year, definitely the copper printing by Renishaw. That's probably one of the things that stands out. Also, the direct energy deposition.
It's something that I haven't known a lot about, but really seems to be up and coming. I think the biggest thing is just being able to be in person. That's probably the last question here. It's a little odd to be at a trade show and the right muscles aren't working when you're trying to figure out, do you shake a hand or do you fist bump? Yeah, but it's been really good to be back in person and see people face to face and make those connections. You can't get better than that. So that is, I think, all that I have to say.
Awesome.
There you go.
Perfect.
I'll give you a nice.
Sorry. Yeah. Hi, my name is Todd Spurgeon. I'm a project engineer for America Makes, and I do project management. I also do technical report deliverable and making sure that projects that are developed for the America Makes membership are written appropriately and have the necessary technical rigor to make it onto the digital storefront. I also co-chair the design working group so that we can keep an eye on our thumb on the pulse of what people's needs are from academia, from industry, from our government stakeholders as to what issues they're seeing with their CAD, CAM software and their workflows for design for additive manufacturing, and see if there's any way that we can improve the state of the technology and get people to where they need to be or where they think they need to be going, and get where people are talking past each other and figure out what's the underlying requirement, what's the underlying issue, see if we can put that on the additive manufacturing roadmap that America Makes puts out, and see if we can address their issues with respect to design and improve the state for everybody here in the United States. Got a little meandering, but came back.
Do you want to answer any of the other questions?
Yeah. Probably next big thing in 3D printing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What I see as the next big thing in 3D printing is people being able to better understand workflows for not only design for additive, but up front while they're making their conceptual decisions for additive manufacturing, being able to make those assessments of what things they need to do up front to accommodate abrasive flow machining, subtractive manufacturing, fixturing, inspection, quality assurance, but doing that at the conceptual level before they spend time in CAD or before they spend time on their various parts or like doing detailed design, making that assessment early in the design process of if that's a viable path for them to pursue, and making good informed decisions about design for AM, and not just using additive manufacturing on its own for everything, but recognizing where additive manufacturing makes sense. So leveraging additive manufacturing with conventional or with like a plasma cutter or with a CNC router or some other manufacturing technology to effectuate or further accentuate and solve problems in sort of a better way.
Hey everyone, this is Mike Vasquez, founder and CEO of 3Degrees. What's the most interesting thing that I saw at Amug this year? It was probably kind of the combination of attendees and expo exhibitors. So our company had a small booth at the expo. Certainly there weren't as many companies as there are in previous years, but I think one of the things that I did observe during the show was of the 900 people that were in attendance, I think many of them spent a lot of time at the booths and talking to not only the big companies who were there, but certainly a lot of the smaller companies. So I think at least for us, we probably had some conversations that we may not have if some of the other companies were there. So we kind of took a win out of that for the week. For me, what's the next big thing in 3D printing? That's a good question. I think getting back to kind of qualification and kind of doing the small things right is kind of the trend I took away. I think the reality of doing production, everyone's realized that it's nuanced. There's different materials, there's different processes, and each of these technologies have their different advantages and disadvantages and challenges. And so I think hopefully as an industry, we can kind of work towards kind of getting consistent with messaging on what printers or materials can and can't do, and move towards production applications, where over the last year we've seen some companies being forced into doing kind of medical stuff or switching from aerospace or to another industry. I think that's overall going to be a good thing and take some of those learnings over the last year, 18 months into the future. So last question, what's like being at a trade show in 2021? I thought it was really kind of encouraging to see kind of life back in the industry after a year of virtual conferences. I think it was great to see kind of those who were able to come down and participate in the festivities, the discussions, the talks. And I think there's no real substitute for in-person conversations and kind of bumping into people. So I think that's extremely encouraging for the year. I'm glad that Amug had it in person. I think it was done in a really kind of productive way, and kind of give kudos to the team there for pulling it off and doing such a nice job and in facilitating that event for the week.